Act 11. Knife Squad arrived at the front line. As they scouted and observed, they noticed the one-sided attack of the Illinoid. The video feeds, still images, audio feeds, waves, and scans were sent to the field analysis pod, and a plan had come to fruition. Because of the advanced syncing system within GalaxieS, he could run a quick function program on several drones at a time, tens, maybe hundreds of drones at once. Aksama sat cross-legged in the dirt and typed the commands on her field tablet. The supply factories just behind the battle line got orders to begin to manufacture dozens of drones. The plan was to set GalaxieS up as an attack hub, protect him, and have Aksama program him to arm and control the drones. As the first wave of drones flew into action, they began to bring down many Illinoid fighters and much of their infantry. Knife was able to strike with coordinated mech, attacks which thinned the ranks of the Illinoid even further. As the first landing wave of the Illinoid touched down, it was obvious their safe LZ was failing. Blast after blast hit the attack transports. They began to tremble and break apart. Some of the ships shook back into space, and others were blown out of the sky completely. Along with a devastating strike campaign from the Zagon fragment teams and turrets, the first strike of the Illinoid was less effective than the bugs had planned, and certainly this sent fear in the heart of Zenato as he sped away, running scans on every rock in his path. He seemed to be looking for something. The coalition of scattered allies managed to push the enemy away from other potential touchdown sites. The Grand Illicost vessels began to merge at the Nexoant site, and so did the Zarthon opposition. The other ally units and the reserve units used the terrain and masked their approach as they embedded among the trees, hills, and cliffs. The reservist Illinoid that supported the stair-step configuration advanced forward and, worn and wounded, moved out of service to recover. However, the Illinoid had come too far and were much too vicious to stop now. Their Illicost transport vessels, some damaged, simply shimmied to the side as Illinoid. Destroyers came into view, attacking the Zagon fragment. The landing zone and other key targets, the monstrous bugs, quickly gained the upper hand. Another allied battle-ready plan was forming as the key Knife members discussed the next move. They were to try and access the Illinoid network with the remote signals from GalaxieS. The plan required somebody to run in and get a downed but operational Illinoid armament. With an armament, the team could intercept enemy transmissions, possibly translate them to formulate yet another defensive plan. As GalaxieS was in program mode, he needed to be protected, so smaller teams were sent to retrieve the armor. Commander Marteau was sent on the mission with a selection of his troops, as well as Knife team. The small team moved into position. Marteau and his team were targeted and blown from the sky by the advancing Illinoid. Jindor and Soa had joined in the strike and sat in with Knife. Taking a quick scan of an open street corner, Jindor saw an armament that had just been downed by alley fire. They could still hear its operational network. Jindor rapidly set his troops to defensive positions and sent Zykan out to retrieve. Act 12. 4 versus many was the attack layout. The Zarthons were behind various obstacles for cover. As Zykan ran out, the others opened fire to cover him. The Illinoid attention shifted to his position and more of their troops came in. Aksama was monitoring on a small camera operating in background mode. She saw the struggle begin to worsen for the retrieval team. She tossed her field tablet down, then she instantly stood commanding the few of her assigned guards to help assist the others. Zykan was now pinned down and both Jindor and Soa emptied clip after clip of ammo to try and protect him, but the Illinoid kept increasing in numbers and they were gaining ground. As the other troops joined the firefight, Aksama moved up next to Jindor and Soa. Reaching out, she took a troop's weapon and another's attachments and yet another's scope. The troops began to gripe and groan, but Jindor quickly squelched that. Now armed with a customized A11 Zarn rifle, she attached an aim-assist robotic arm module to the gun, massively increasing its effectiveness. She aimed and began to drop Illinoid in dramatic fashion. Bug after bug fell. With the help of Aksama, Zykan saw the slight drop in the Illinoid advancement, and seeing his chance he went, dodging and rolling from gunfire and returning it with deadly accuracy and lethality. Zykan skidded into the street, ran, jumped and flipped over the armor. Using the armor as cover while he yanked out the net box, the Illinoid began to concentrate on his position. Sensing urgency, Jindor stood and moved into the open and unloaded. Seeing that Soa did the same, they both yelled out for Aksama to go get Zykan out. Aksama launched a few grenades and produced an awesome two-headed spear from her sword pack and ran out with her spear, cutting down all in her path when she was suddenly joined by a blade-wielding Zykan. Both in close range of enemy infantry, they slashed and cut their way back to the safety of the firewall that was the knife team. By hacking and remotely piloting just a few Wasper warriors and coordinating a joint mechanized attack, the Allies were able to make a strike against some landed craft and some Illinois destroyers, decimating their remaining surface forces. However, it was learned through the alien transmissions that the first strike was just that, a simple jab before the power punch. The first strike had enabled the Illinois to gain time and space to deploy their remaining army, an indescribable immense cloud of thousands of destructive insect creatures. It was clear the Illinois were mobilized for a massive strike, and Jindor knew the only way to win this fight, or to even survive it, the odds needed to be even. Therefore, he and the other Zardos generals agreed on using scarce resources to engineer a small space campaign in order to face the enemies evenly off-planet. Act 13. The Illinoid numbers now dwarfed any effort of remaining Zardos or Earthling forces. One of the most powerful Illinoid weapons was their offspring. The hatchling Illinoid are voracious, vicious eaters, and because of their small size, they could find ways into secure areas and/or overwhelm troops, patrols, or whole regiments with incredible numbers. Even though the small bugs were mindless, they listened to the elders and carried out their orders to the death. One adult Illinoid could control several thousand hatchlings, and only a small amount ever reach adulthood because of their relentless drive to serve the older generations. Upon seeing the cloud of enemies of all ages and sizes, Jindor gave the order for a tactical retreat. By strategically backstepping and rearming, Jindor hoped to change the momentum of the latest advancement of Illinoid and give the Allies time to work on the makeshift fleet. Jindor's description of rearming was a little vague compared to the detailed plan the knife team had comprised. It was now the Allies' intention to keep the majority of the resistance pressed against the Illinoid front line. Then the knife team would circle around and attack from the far side of the Zagon fragment. Jindor explained this next assault would be pointless unless they had enough firepower to pack a punch. So he and the doctors unveiled yet another series of advanced new weapons. Nova Core is a portable energy generator that comes in a wide variety of sizes. The Zardos developed this unit when they learned to master matter and elements several millennia ago. The basic Nova Core is a microscopic and very intense electromagnet. The magnet takes a single electron, a single particle of hydrogen, and a single particle of helium, and contains both, then bombards them randomly until they explode and combine to form a mini-star. The star is then collided and exploded again, until it is a mini-supernova. Once the mini-nova is achieved, its energy can be harvested for any number of devices for many years. Zarium is a super strong, lightweight, easily obtainable metal that the Zardos use for nearly all of their military and construction applications. By adding just a few elements and enhancing the smelting process, Earth-found Dartilian can be converted to Zarium. MG engines. The MB portion of the title refers to the matter booster part of the engine, which is literally a matter pusher or blower. It is a simple design for those who have mastered matter. The engine uses a gravity accelerator to pull matter from one side to the other, much like forcing air through a jet turbine, but the matter booster is 1,000,000 times more powerful and efficient. By placing the MB on a pivot arm, the engine can swing, turn, and rotate in any direction desired, improving and maximizing flight movement and capability to an effortless action. The MG portion of the title is a bit more complicated. Using the SPS, or Stellar Positioning System, which is basically a three-dimensional star map, the Matter Grabber, or MG, will lock in a stellar coordinate and produce a marker in space for the grabber to latch onto. The grabbers are literally like arms in which the hands reach out and grab, and the shoulders stay attached to the engine. After the marker and the grab are established, a simple pull is all that is needed to essentially be hurtled through space at intercosmic speeds. Some Zardos pilots and captains refer to this as an interstellar leap. Act 14. Together with these new tools and what are being called advanced gun packs. These are gun packs with larger firearms schematics, more ammo capacities, and more powerful projectiles. The knife team set out to the old touchdown site, and it was there that Dr. Nirna of Zardos Science explained the blade wings. Dr. Nirna started his speech to the women and men in the room. A blade wing is a forward-line fighter ship that can be used to advance beyond the reach of the slower destroyer class vessels and most enemy fighters too. The blade wing is a heavy-duty craft with the idea of using the craft itself as a weapon, rather than just a means to deliver them. Even though the BWs can carry a large assortment of weaponized payloads, this is not their main function. The sturdy frame and fixed Xerium blades for wings can be used as in-flight battering rams, strategically slicing and cutting vulnerable locations on enemy craft, much like the Zerkart wings. The two blade wings ready for flighted combat are this single-engine model and this quad-engine model. Nirna continued. Shortly after that, and after a crash course in flight control, Zykin and a reluctant Axama manned the new blade wings and accompanied Knife Team on their supersonic course to the Zagon fragment. Axama asked Raxus to stay behind and assist the forward assault campaign, and he agreed. The Raxus AI was not programmed for any spaceflight as of yet, and uploading the complicated calculations and coding could take weeks. So both agreed that Raxus would stay behind and write the code from Zerth, which is what everyone is calling Earth, and the Zagon fragment together. Zykin had never piloted a craft of this nature before, but again his courage was commendable as his enthusiasm overpowered his fear. Still reluctant, Axama agreed to pilot the second blade wing, but before taking off she intended to upgrade herself. She created a multi-wave, mini-screened computer attached to her Xarium chestplate by a small arm. She adapted a military exoskeleton to her size and enhanced it with Xarium components. One of her channels had a constant stream to the Raxus AI, and another to the ever-evolving Zarthon net. Jindor and the others arrived at a burnt-out old bunker on the fragment. The bunker had been destroyed in an earlier skirmish, and there was no trace of any survivors and precious little supplies. The general ordered the men to keep quiet and rest. The next morning, Zykin saw the giant Jindor speaking with a small child. Zykin thought it odd that there was a child in the aftermath of the previous attacks, but as he listened, he heard Jindor reassuring the child. "Watch over your family and keep them hidden in the forest. We will be clearing out these bugs soon enough," Jindor said calmly. Then the child turned and ran into the forest. Act 15th. Jindor announced, "Gear up and prepare for takeoff." Jindor's personal cruiser was also a bit of aeronautical genius because it resembled more of a mini destroyer vessel than anything else. He equipped the cruiser with an experimental weapons system he was calling the Smart Turret. The Smart Turret uses a super strong electromagnet to attach to a vessel and can be positioned and fired from anywhere on the craft. It is controlled like any onboard weapon, but is separate of the host vessel. Jai-Pai and Lore were piloting two other craft that were medium-sized. Noel and Era were in Jindor's ship, and Axama and Zykin were in the blade wings. Together they all set out to low orbit. Jindor proclaimed, "Zykin, Axama, you are my attackers, Lore. Jai-Pai, you are my support. Go." Jindor explained earlier that they would be attacking the rearmost command vessel in the Illinoid fleet. Each command ship was escorted by several dozen destroyers and several hundred fighters. It was up to Knife Team to cut through the elite defenses and engage the command ships. Zykin and Axama began their assault. It was their job to cripple defense and strike squads before they can mobilize. Jindor would gain a positive strike position and fire on the ship, while Lore and Jia-Pai protect him. On the ground, SOL, along with other generals of both Earth and Zagon, dug in at the front lines and stopped the advancement with strategic combat to allow Nirna and Zardos scientists to begin work on an ally starship. Prototype. Era yelled out, "I'm picking up several large ship readings from several thousand lines back." Jindor responded, "What's our attack window look like?" Era called back, "We have plenty of time to make an assault if we do it fast, sir." And by the end of that transmission, Zykin and Axama flew in, following a steady stream of powerful blasts fired from Jindor's cruiser. The attack was on. Zykin and Axama took out numerous Wasper warriors and a few destroyer-sized vessels as well, but the real damage was being dealt by Jindor's cannon. He was able to obliterate many destroyers, as well as concentrate fire on the command ship, devastating its mobility and defenses. Jindor too had come under attack, but his bodyguards were making short work of his attackers. It was learned that the enemy fleet was farther positioned than originally thought, so the attack was even more unexpected, and therefore more successful. Boom! Suddenly one of Jindor's blasts had opened the hull of the ship. Jindor exclaimed, "Quickly get inside!" Zykin and Axama piloted in through the damaged area, into the interior of the ship, a winding maze of twisting corridors and maintenance tunnels. And add to that, a large number of enemy fighters raced to halt their progress. A super intense battle waged within the command ship, while an equally hard struggle ensued outside. Act 16. Era shouted excitedly, "Sir, the contacts to our rear are 4 Turalian Tarthal-class command ships, and they have hundreds of escorts." Jindor commanded back, "Advance our position. Keep us away from those Turalians for now, people." "Zykan, try your best to bring that bugger down, we're running out of time." Just then, after a less frequent explosion, there was a break in the battle. The corridors opened up, and the engine core of the command vessel was vulnerable. Zykan skidded the blade wing to a stop on the engine room floor, and opted to jump out and attack on foot, while Aksama orbited above. With support from the air and superior battle tactics on the ground, Zykan arrived at the core. He armed and began charging his beam cannon gunpowder option. Aksama squelched across the radio band. "There are numerous enemies approaching your position. I'll hold as many off as I can." Suddenly, gunfire rang out and blasts and shrapnel happened right near Zykan's head. He had to place the gun down to charge and draw his rapier as enemy troops surrounded him. After dispatching a few troops by hand, Zykan saw his cannon was charged and ready to fire. He took aim and squeezed. The large beam hit the engine core violently, and Zykan screamed out, "Fire missiles now!" Aksama launched her payload, which was already locked onto by her weapon system. The core's protective energy field was destroyed from Zykan's cannon, and once the missiles hit the target, blast! The engine core exploded in a magnificent cloud of energy, debris, sparks, and flaming pieces. The command ship jolted abruptly and began to fall to its descent. The stricken ship had not yet broken the combined and therefore more powerful gravitational pull of Earth and the Zagon fragment. It slowly sagged and drifted toward the planet's surface. Zykan boarded his blade wing, then he and Aksa punched out of the critical ship at max speed. As they broke the interior, they saw Jindor just parallel to them. They joined the formation and began the defensive. When Zykan and Aksama formed up, it was clear that the Turalians had joined the battle. Torque tracer fighters filled in where Waspers did not, and the looming approach of the Turalian command ships grew ever closer. Jindor exclaimed, "Head back toward the front line as fast as you can." No. The team spiraled to and from, dodging and weaving and attacking what targets they could as they raced back toward the front battle line. It would seem that the Illinois' entire remaining fleet after the Zagon campaign was a mere 6 ships. The surface cannons brought down 2, and Knife Team just smashed 1, leaving a remaining 3 command ships and their many escorts. One of the remaining vessels had turned to cut off Knife in a sandwich maneuver with the Turalians. Hundreds of fighters swarmed their way. Blast after blast rocked everyone within their armored cockpits. Following Jindor, the defender ships and the striker ships, Dove and Dodge, the Knife Team managed to get clear of the sandwich maneuver, but they were now targeted for heavy fire to their aft as they crossed under the forward-facing Illinois giants. Twink, tank, poof. Heavy fire smashed at the team's armor and equipment began to be destroyed. Act 17. Psst. Era's navigation station blew with her at the controls. Her condition was grim. As Jindor went to aid her, the ship was rocked, sending the brute to his knees. Jindor called out, "Noel, get her to medical." Jindor jumped back in his pilot seat and resumed the hard flight out. BBZZ, pow. Lore's defensive craft was critically hit, and he exploded in a cloud of debris, smoke, and sparks as it all rained out across space. The remaining Knife Team raced tentatively through the heavy fire while still taking serious damage. Zanato's ship drifted toward a derelict moon, on which several structures could be seen on the surface. He ordered a visual and tech scan on the biggest complex, a massive network of buildings and tunnels. Upon seeing the make of the old buildings and grounded starships, he wanted to have a closer look. P-71 service bot informed, "The complex appears to be an old Illinois Reserve regiment. Its date readings indicate it is several centuries old." Zanato now turned salvager as he and his wolf team touched down and prepared to head out. Finding breathable air and no life signs, they set out with light gear. Zanato proceeded to enter the largest building of the complex, and as he entered, it was clear that this was indeed an old military establishment for the Illinois. He smiled with glee to find weapons and vehicles and armaments and rockets and missiles, and as he entered the largest hangar bay, he found something to inspire his worst plot yet. The overwhelming attack was reaching a catastrophic level, and the Turalians poised shoulder to shoulder with the Illinois. All the knife craft were stricken and smoking, and about to burst to oblivion. Just when all seemed lost, an amazing miracle of the battlefield manifested unbeknownst to Knife or any of the other Zarthon battle factions happened. 2 enormous Kriud Kesser-class cruisers pulled over and above the Earth landing zone and squared up right on the battlefront line. Knife frantically careened under the Kriud ships, and just as they passed, the Kriud, activated 2 gigantic energy shields. Alive and swimming with a yellowish hue and an undeniable grid pattern, the shield encased the landing zone and allies in huge protective overlapping semicircles, halting the Illinoid Turalian advancement instantly. Knife survived by the thinnest of margins. The Iltar army kept their strafing attacks and bombardments on the shield, but no weapon they had could possibly penetrate the Kriod dome. Jindor guided the others to the landing zone. Upon inspection of his crew, he discovered that Knoll too was injured while attending to a wounded Era. He and the men took time, knelt and honored their lost friend Lore. He was second in command and a serious loss to the team. Both Knoll and Era were alive, but out of commission. Knife had been reduced to Jindor, Japai, Zykan, and Aksama. Act 18. The Kriod generals began to come down to the surface, and the internal hangars of their Kasser ships spewed out with the Kriod version of single fighter craft called Raptor. Raiders and their land transport assault vehicles Cyberhounds. They held off the Turalian equivalent's Torque fighters and Turret tanks on the farthest fringes of the battle. Jindor staggered over to the area where the Kriod generals touched down. Knife followed closely. "Jeron, you ugly bastard, you've saved our asses." Jindor was addressing the High Kriod general, and after he spoke his words, the troops who had gathered around roared and cheered with cries of laughter and victory. As they all joined together and looked about surveying a damaged battlefield, everyone knew there was precious little time before the Illinoid pressed on. Jindor walked with his colleagues and discussed the final defensive plan. Jindor and the generals of all 3 factions, Zagon, Krieto, and Earth, devised a plan to place all armaments and weapon systems to line up directly down the middle of the defenses and stand to fight. While Zanato is a master martial artist and a master militant strategist, he also has a triad of absolute genius at his beck and call. Dr. Franks Riton and Servicebot P-71 worked tirelessly on Zanato's newest acquisition, an entire hive of dormant Illinoid eggs. Zanato and his team worked on reanimating and then genetically altering the eggs for their benefit. After hours of trial and error, the eggs were wakened from their long cold sleep. Before they had a chance to circulate their fluids, the Wolf team injected them with their genetic rearrangement formula. The formula changed the appearance of the monsters drastically, and a substantial exchange was made from strength to intelligence to have a more independent warrior who can think on his own. All reproduction function and loyalty of seniority were wiped. With all the planetary defenses raised and the troops ready, large training facilities were erected. Jindor and the others stressed to the troops that ongoing training battle exercises were the best way to keep in preparation for the coming fight. Aksama reunited with Raxus, and they and Zykan joined in the efforts to erect and man one of these large training facilities. The Kriod didn't really have advanced weapons for offensive strikes. Their engineering was based more on defensive operations, and as such it was simply a matter of time before the Iltar army got past the shield. The Zagon fragment housed a good parallel position from the fragment in relation to the enemy army. Many monument mounts were moved into position both on the fragment and on the Earth's surface. Some of the cannons were on large terrain climbing vehicles with wheels, some with treads. Some even lumbered to position on robotic legs. Once in position, the cannons aimed up at the enemy ships in anticipation of the coming battle. Act 19. The Kriod generals reveal many new secrets from their numerous years of research, and they were eager and instructional as they shared in their secrets of the Illinoid and their technology, and ever quick to point out weaknesses and exploitations in their logistics. With the coming of the Kriod, the tide of the battle seemed to shift, certainly in the minds and eyes of the troops who were more assured of a victory with the Kriods now on their side. Word got to the Kriods, and it flowed through the camps. Everyone was talking about how the Kriods had saved them all. But Jindor was a little slower to give such praise because he knew that the true fight had not even yet begun. The Kriod generals themselves had convened a meeting in which to tell everyone about their still low chance of survival. Kriod General Valley spoke out to the restless crowd. "People of this united Zarthon army, hear us and hear us well. We are not your saviors. You must be your own. The massive force of the Illinoid still outnumbers us greatly, and our 2 lonely ships and their crews are all the Kriod we have to fight with. This is in fact our last stand just as much as it is yours. We raise arms with you and ask that you join us in the forming of the Aximus United Federation, a faction that will take in any and all so long as they stand against injustice, prejudice, and genocide." Aximus Mega was the Zardos word for the galaxy known by humans as the Milky Way. The name Axamus Mega has been used to identify the galaxy for thousands of eons. Thus, the other races of the galaxy have adapted to using the name as well. It was unknown why or how Xanato had information about space travel, and the tech needed to achieve that, but he did. Through reverse engineering and the translations of many Illinoid journals, he and Wolf Team were able to spark up an old Illinois generator. After that, they were able to reignite several of the engines. They began work on an old mold and fill generator, and before long they had that system up and running as well. Within hours, Reeton and P-71 had a full-bodied ship frame erected and ready. Xanato and Dr. Franks had been working on schematics for an advanced starship design. Through further debriefings, idea exchanges, and brainstorming with the Creode, the most important and event-turning opportunity of the war was mentioned. There was talk and rumors that suggest a mock Illinoid queen programmed for dormancy and non-aggression could be placed in the ranks of the Illinoid, thus ceasing their assault indefinitely. Once this idea was heard, the troops ran away with it. All their effort and excitement was riding on this one desperate chance for survival. Even with the rumor being unconfirmed, it was still the moral boost the AUF troops needed to make them rise to the occasion of battle yet again. The opposing force stacked up in their formation, the Illinoid in front and the Turalian in the back. In all 7 ships, lined up in an attack pattern and stared thee off from directly above the landing zone. Suddenly there was a shift in the pattern, a jolt in the stillness, and a deafening wave thundered into the atmosphere and the sound of an explosion. Upon further analysis, the OAF long scopes detected that a Terraloin command ship was mysteriously stricken and sent adrift. Moments later, the wounded bird exploded. Act 20. The Creode ships still projected their shields and held their positions as the AUF troops shared ideas, war stories, and weapons. The army that was coalescing was a mix of all races and factions, and all were poised to attack or defend in the next skirmish. Final touches were being added to the Zarthon prototype ship. Jindor's experimental smart turret system was one of the last things to go onto the ship. The AUF generals and leaders studied the mystery explosion for hours, and several theories arose as to what had happened. The ground force was significantly stacked and stocked from enormous monument mounts to advanced handguns. The AUF seemed as ready as they would ever be for a military strike and response. Matching and common uniforms, ID tags, gun packs, and identity rapier sword packs were distributed to all the troops. More Creode shields and monument mounts were set up, positioned, and aimed at their interstellar adversaries. Xanato's General Avok Ritan was an expert machinist and an advanced engineer. He tinkered away at his table, developing yet another set of weapons for the Wolf Team. With his engineering genius, he was able to create exosuits for the entire team. Ritan's suit was a marvel of robotic wonder. It shined and glistened with polished steel fittings and armored plating. The helmets of the suits contained an advanced interface with voice command operating system, and all the suits had built-in mini rockets for propulsion and flight. While the other suits were basic and rudimentary in design, Ritan's suit was decorated and adorned with parts modeled after a medieval dragon, complete with horns, gills, wings, and a tail. Panning out from Ritan's work table to the exterior of Xanato's flagship, details became notable. Around the same dimensions of all the other known galactic spaceships, Xanato's fleet incorporated a design that utilized massive fixed battering rams for barraging other ships in battle. The ships were spade in shape and painted purple with red battle markings, and all these new vessels had the most advanced weapon systems available by current design standards. Xanato maneuvered his 5-ship fleet, and it was clear that they were the mystery attackers on the other side of the Illinoid and Terraloin fleets. As they approached and began to fire on all targets, Illinoid, Turalian, Zagon, and Earth, General Soa and General Vali saw to the ground forces, lining them up strategically in a defensive pattern and giving them the order to fire. The ground forces blasted from their fortified cannons and ground destroyers. Their target was the new signals they observed on their long-range scopes. Xanato's fleet was just in range, and the barrage from the Zarthon ground force ignited a barrage from above. The 3 factions began to battle in a huge free-for-all. The powerful Zardos cannons carved paths of dismantled and burned ships and ship parts as they continued to fire. The Illinoid ships scattered, and in doing so left a second Terraloin ship vulnerable to attack. The cannons found their mark and dealt critical damage to the straggling vessel. Act